Hello and welcome to Italian Serie A match day 15 with Napoli on top, followed by Atalanta, but with our hearts, Leo, is red after what happened in the Fiorentina Inter Milan with Eduardo Bove. Luckily, he's fine, but terrible images from the Artemio Franchi.
Yes, absolutely. It was terrifying, to be honest, to see those images in the Artemio Franchi. But hopefully, we know as a fact, because the club released a statement yesterday that the player is conscious, that he's talking, and that he even encouraged his teammates to play tomorrow against Empoli in the Coppa Italia.
Well, let's analyze all the games. Of course, we have Atalanta, Milan as a great game, and of course, Napoli, Lazio. So comment the video with us, press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. And we have two games on Friday because remember we have Champions League again the following week. First game, early kickoff, 5:30, very early, is Inter Milan. Parma. Inter Milan, of course, couldn't play in Florence because that incident with Bove in the first minutes of the game. So they will be rested, and they had a great strike before that. They beat Leipzig, Verona, remember, all 2-0. And now they have tough games against Leverkusen, against Lazio. This one, Leo, should be easier, although Parma, as we are saying this season, they are a young team. They are courageous, and they were able to beat Lazio in one of the big surprises of the last weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, they are the second youngest Parma team in Serie A history, and they are doing very well. We spoke during the season how entertaining they were, especially up to the Matchday 5th or 6th. After that, we have seen a dip in form from them. Although they managed very good to draw in Turin against Juventus, which could have gone either way. They are now with 15 points, 2 wins in the last 3 for them, which is as many wins as they had in Serie A in the previous 40 matches. The defeat at home with Genoa was painful on Matchday 11, but they recovered winning away against Venezia, and at home now against Lazio. That was an amazing form going into that game in the Ennio Tardini with 5 consecutive wins in Serie A. This Parma side so far is a team that had drew with Fiorentina and Juventus, that won against Milan and Lazio, and lost to Napoli only on added time. It's an impressive run against the top teams. However, the season, we always say, is going to be decided upon how well they do against the half bottom of the table. But because they have collected 6 of 18 possible points against those teams, but 9 out of 18 against teams in the top 8 of this Serie A. VAR denied Lazio the first goal of the match, and then Rovella's mistake handed Dennis Mann the opener against Lazio. Actually, for Dennis Mann, his last 6 goals for Parma in all competitions, they all have come at the Ennio Tardini, and 4 of them this season in Serie A. We have seen a beautiful goal from the Tunisian Anas Mohamed, only 19 years old, his first Serie A season goal of his career. But despite this amazing run against the top 8 teams in the Serie A this season, do I see Parma taking something from San Siro? Personally, to be honest, no. And even though, as you mentioned, Inter had in mind for sure to play Leverkusen next week, and then Lazio on Matchday 16. At home, Inter this season, they have been far from perfect anyway. We can remember that they won against Torino and Venezia for only 1 goal margin, but it's fair to say that they created a lot of chances on those games. They have won 4 out of 7 at home this season in San Siro. Inter, look, the odds are of course high on Parma. Even a double chance at full time for Parma is closely to 4.7. But my take here is fully back in Inter. Inter Asian handicap -2, 1.87, Edu.
Ambitious. Both teams to score pays exactly the same, yes or no in this case. So up to you. It pays well. It's around 1.9, depends on the bookies, but of course, Inter 4 points away from Napoli, 1 game in hand, wants to close the gap. And later on, we have Atalanta, Milan, great game with Atalanta. Still in great form, they were able to win at the Olimpico against Roma, even an ex like Zaniolo recovering, scoring the second goal, 11 wins and 1 draw in the last 12 games, only 1 point away from Napoli. Everything we can say about Gasperini's men is very good, and they are facing Real Madrid next week. I'm already fearing that game, Leo, and they are super favorites, but still good odds with this Milan, that they beat Empoli with Reinders, one of the players that we like the most, scoring a couple of goals. But this Milan is so inconsistent that I can understand why the odds are so favorable for Atalanta.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's down to that inconsistency of Milan that the odds look so much on Atalanta's favor. Plus, anyway, they are on extraordinary form. You said it all, 11 wins, 1 draw in the last 12 games. It's just amazing. The last defeat for Atalanta was back in September and against Como. Yesterday in the Olimpico against Roma, in the first half, they did not dominate. They didn't dominate a lot, but after the Run's goal was everything for Atalanta. Gasperini, with the game still 0-0, he took off Retegui, De Ketelaere, Lookman. So basically, he played the last 25 minutes with no recognizable striker, but he ended up scoring twice. And Ederson almost scored a third one as well, getting a 1v1 against Villar. Nicolo Zaniolo, I don't think he will be welcome in some parts of Rome, in the capital, after his goal and his celebration. They keep pushing Napoli, and there are no signs of energy dropping for Atalanta. I will expect goals in Bergamo. It's a huge and amazing game. I'm really looking forward for this Atalanta-Milan, Edu. And of course, Milan, after the 3-0 against Empoli, maybe the best news after the game was that Reinders is about to renew his contract until 2030. He's not going to stay until that time. But of course, it's important for them in order to get a good fee once the likes of Real Madrid, Manchester City or Barcelona come looking after him. Although if Reinders is watching the show, I will tell you, please, why don't you go to Liverpool? I think they're going to adapt a little bit more better to your qualities. 6 goals so far for Reinders this season. He scored twice against Empoli. Basically, he already scored, or he has already equaled the best tally of his career when he scored 6 as well for AZ Alkmaar. 3 goals in Serie A, another 3 in Champions League for him. After 2 consecutive draws, it was important for Milan to win against Empoli. They done it as we thought on the previous show, winning and with goals over 2.5 for them. It could have been 5 or 6 as well, to be honest. They created a lot, Edu. And if I'm talking about goals, again, I will expect the same this time. So that's why my take here is goals over 2.5, 1.71, Edu.
Of course, we should expect goals in this Atalanta-Milan, one of the best games of the weekend. Next one, Genoa-Torino, with Genoa in great form. Vieira is making an impact on the bench, beat Udinese 2-0, 2 wins and 2 draws in the last 4 games. Yep. Torino dropping in the table. Leo, luckily, they got many points at the beginning of the season because it's only 1 point in the last 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if we are seeing the managerial change effect with Genoa and Patrick Vieira, or a continuation, because from the last 2 matches from Gilardino, he left with 4 points in 2 games, and now Patrick Vieira in his first 2 games, he also have collected 4 points. Against Udinese was the 3rd away win of the season for Genoa, so all their wins have come away from home. So the aim with Torino, I believe, of course, is to get that elusive first home win for them. Andrea Pinamonti, again, wrote his name on the score sheet. It was his 5th of the season. Every time he scored, he brings a very valuable contribution, because he scored the winning goal against Monza, scored against Bologna to make it 2-2 from 0-2 down that afternoon, and he also scored the winning goal against Parma, and now the opener against Udinese. Of course, Udinese as well contributed to Genoa's win when Souleymane Touré got a red card after only 2 minutes of play, but then Genoa anyway imposed themselves. They did not suffer apart maybe from set pieces because Udinese had Luca and also Kenan Davis, which are very tall strikers. So, but other than set pieces and corners, they did not suffer at all. Almost Patrick Vieira's team, they finished the game with 14 attempts on goal, although just 4 of them on target for Genoa. It was not just Pinamonti or Zanoli in attack, but also in midfield. The Croatian Milan Badek was outstanding, and he became actually the Croatian player with the most Serie A matches under his belt. Torino at the back of a narrow defeat against Napoli. But I wouldn't get carried away just with the result because, to be honest, it could have been 5 or 6 as well for Napoli. Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, the goalkeeper, was the hero of the afternoon against Napoli, saving against Barastelia, Simeone, against Romelu Lukaku. My take here, Edu, is first half draw, odds of 2.
Okay, Leo, and later on we have a Juve Bologna, great game with both teams playing the Champions League. Juventus very unreliable, as we are saying this season. They keep dropping points from winning positions. It's 8 draws already this season, the only team without a defeat in Serie A, but 8 draws put them far away from Napoli, 6 points away. Bologna work in progress, as we are saying, with Orsolini again. Scoring now, they are only 5 points away from Juventus after a really bad start of the season for Bologna.
Yes, absolutely. And the win 3-0 against Venezia was perfect because 𝐬𝐭𝐴 broke his drought in Serie A and scored a brace for the first time in the competition. You mentioned Riccardo Orsolini scoring again, this time from the penalty spot. He has 6 goals this season, and 5 of them have come in the last 6 match days for Bologna. Away from home, Bologna is the 6th best this season. The odds are pointing to a low-scoring game. We can see that goals under 2.5, at least the last time I checked, was around 1.67. Juventus, Lecce, to be honest, when I was watching and it was the game on the 90th minute, I was a happy man. I thought that we were going to get that Juventus 2-0 that we said on the previous show. I was preparing my mate and I heard that Ante Rebic scored on the 93rd minute and I almost burned my hand, to be honest. But again, they didn't have a great game. They are suffering a lot, yes, with injuries. They have like 9 first-team players out with injuries. That's why maybe, despite the 1-1 in the Via del Mare, the best piece of news for Juventus is that they didn't add up anyone else after the game to that list. Thiago Motta is becoming a little bit criticized more and more by the fan base every time Juventus is playing. Lately, I mean, he's not helping himself with some of the substitutions he's making during the game. With the game 0-0, he introduced Fagioli the other day, which, I mean, it was difficult to understand why. Kenan Yildiz and 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜 are very good and talented players, but they're only 19 and 21 years old, so they cannot lead the team at this stage. Was Bianconeri's third consecutive draw in all competition. Their last home win for Juventus it was Torino against Torino in the derby. Yes, they're both having Champions League games to play. Juventus might have Nico Gonzalez back this weekend against Bologna. They are playing in front of their fans. So I'm pointing Juventus to win despite this lately not a very good form for Thiago Motta's men. Juventus to win 1.75.
Okay, be aware of the draw is 3.8 in case you want to back again another draw. Juventus, the king of the draw in this Serie A with 8. And also on Saturday we have Roma, Lecce, both with 13 points. The Giallorossi are only 2 points away from the bottom 3, 2 games, 2 defeats for Ranieri. On the bench, of course, against Napoli and Atalanta, tough games. Also, they drew with Tottenham in the Europa League. Again, very tough games, but they are winless in the last 6. Their form in general is really poor. Leo and Lecce keep doing great things with only 7 goals scored, as they showed in the draw with Juve 1-1. I guess it's time to see the first win for Ranieri on the bench in the second or third spell at the Roma bench, of course.
Yes, it should come this weekend, to be honest. So yes, on his first spell, it was an emotional return last night for Ranieri. Plenty of banners in the stands at the Olimpico yesterday, celebrating and saluting Ranieri, who was very, very emotional. You could see when the cameras were pointing at him before the match started. To be honest, I saw them do against Tottenham last week in North London, and the second half from Roma was very good, was very promising, to be honest. Of course, the start for Ranieri has been tough. Napoli, Tottenham in Europa League, yesterday, last night, Atalanta, 𝐻𝗵𝗏𝗏 against Tottenham. The first 25 minutes, he ruled the game. It was magical to see him, how he could dominate the game, just playing within a parcel of the pitch on the right-hand side. But that's the thing, he only lasted on the game 25 minutes. He was sub at halftime. Yesterday, he was sub after 80 minutes, but his performance was from high to low. One shot on target last night against Atalanta. Dobbik 4 goals this season, but he's struggling lately. His last goal was in the defeat against Verona away when they lost 3-2. Yesterday he had almost a chance, but he couldn't connect the ball after a good pass from 𝐻𝗵𝗏𝗏. I know that we know Ranieri, we know his conservative style and so on, but yesterday the game was asking Ranieri maybe to take a defender, to take a center-back and introduce an attacking player, because I mentioned before, Atalanta took all the strikers off. There were no strikers, so there was no point to have 3 or 4 defenders only with a false 9, which was Zaniolo. But Ranieri lacked that kind of change, but we know that's what he is. He's not going to change at this point. But again, yes, they are favorite for this one. I can see them finally getting that win that they really need. Again, the last 3 performances for Roma, I believe, have been a little bit better than or mostly the last 2 than their points suggest. For Lecce was a big point against Juventus, of course. 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats in the last 6 for them to be level on points with Roma. Might take Roma to win and goals over 1.5, odds closer to 2.
Let's see if we see Ranieri's first win again on the bench for the giallorossi. And on Sunday, first game is Fiorentina Cagliari, the early kickoff after those horrible images that we saw last weekend with Eduardo Bove. Remember that Fiorentina were in really good form, is 7 consecutive wins in Serie A, but also Cagliari are doing a great season. Piccoli scored the winner against Verona, and right now, after the draws also against Genoa and Milan, are 3 points away from 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐻𝐿.
Yes, it's going to be an emotional game in Florence for both teams. For Fiorentina, of course, although they're going to play tomorrow against Empoli as well at the Artemio Franchi, but for Cagliari as well, we are talking about a colleague of them. It's a delicate situation for Fiorentina to handle, but of course the most important thing is that Eduardo Bove is responding and recovering and feeling better, as the club has communicated. Before the match with Inter, that of course got interrupted. They won in the Conference League, Fiorentina, and scoring 3 as well. It was a good opportunity for them to rotate the players, and they are now on direct qualification spot in Europe. They are on an amazing run overall in all competitions, 11 wins in the last 13 matches for them. As you mentioned, Cagliari arriving in a good form as well after their win against Verona at home. Roberto Piccoli, 2nd consecutive goal after scoring also against Genoa away, and the 4th this season for him. The Sardinians are 3 without losing, and 3 points above the relegation zone, which is the most important for them. The odds on Fiorentina are not very high, 1.5 to win. But yes, I'm back in Fiorentina. Fiorentina to win at halftime and Fiorentina to win at full time. Odds of 2.25.
All right, next game is Verona-Empoli. This is very important for the relegation battle, especially for Verona, looking really bad, as we are saying, week after week. Now they are only 1 point away from the relegation is 6 defeats in the last 7 games, last 3 defeats against Cagliari, Inter and Fiorentina. So, Leo, I think we have great odds to back Empoli. They are the underdog. I cannot understand why in this game. And away from home, they are the 8th in the table with 2 wins. So they are dangerous away.
Yes, absolutely. Look, my marketing here is the goals under, but could be a goals under pointing, or I believe it's a goals under pointing mostly on Empoli's direction. Just I decided to be a little bit more conservative, and despite those good odds on Empoli, and despite seeing them 8th in the table away from home, because in San Siro, of course, we are talking about Milan, but still haven't seen them in good form, and lately has been tough for them. Just 1 win from the last 9 with 4 defeats for Empoli. And then with Verona, Edu, if anyone asks how can you lose 10 games out of 14 and not be in relegation zone, the only one with the answer is Verona. They are now with 3 consecutive defeats, have conceded 9 times in those 3 games. They traveled to Cagliari with the idea of getting the first draw of the season. They were managing that with 15 minutes to go. They told Cagliari, we don't want the ball, it's all yours. That's why Cagliari attempted 19 shots on goal, although just 4 of them on target. 3 of the 4 wins for Verona have come at the 𝐬𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀 Stadium. Roma, Venezia and Napoli left empty-handed. 8 goals scored in those wins. However, the last 2 match days at home have been a 5-0 defeat with Inter, with 5 goals scored in 41 minutes, and also a 3-0 defeat against Monza. Verona is apparently very close to be bought by an American American investor, which I'm gonna add another team in Serie A after Milan, Inter, Roma, etc., etc. So, as I said, my take here is pointing to the goals under market, goals under 2.5, 1.57. But as you said, and I agree with that, if you need to go X1 or X2, I will definitely look at Empoli this time.
Indeed, even the double chance looks good for Empoli for the relegation battle. Very important. Venezia, Como, both were promoted last season and both are in the relegation spots right now. Venezia lost 3-0 with Bologna, so 4 consecutive defeats and only 1 goal scored in those games. Como, also in relegation, is only 3 points in the last 8 games, Leo.
Yes, and I don't know why Fabregas started to have like a take on his player, which can be a little bit detrimental thing, because he's doing it in public. I know Fabregas likes the cameras, to be honest. They are now 8 without a win and score only 5 times in those 8 matches, Como. But to go on public and say like, yes, we are working on getting more efficient in front of goal, but at the end of the day, it is all down to the quality of the players you have. That's a bit tough to say, I would say, to his players. Not because it's not true. I mean, as a manager, what the job they can do is mostly everything up to the final third, and from there is usually the quality of the players that decide everything, their decision making. But when your team is having a tough run, I think it's not very nice to take that from Fabregas. Venezia, that's why this is a very interesting 6-pointer. We're talking about the bottom team of the table. 4 consecutive defeats with just 1 goal scored in those matches. 10 defeats all season. There are growing calls for Eusebio Di Francesco to be sacked, which basically, if they haven't done yet, I believe it's because they just don't have the money to do it, and they're expecting Di Francesco to say goodbye on his own terms or by himself. But it's very likely that to come. That's why Venezia supporters, they're looking at what's happening with Torino and with Paolo Vanoli, the man who took them back to Serie A last season, to see if there is any chance for him returning to their bench. Edu, Venezia wins, is going to topple Como on goal difference. Do I see that? Not really. That's why my take here is draw, no bet, Como 1.87.
looks slightly better como than Venezia at this moment on time. And the great game on Sunday is Napoli-Lazio. We are going to see this game twice this week because they are also playing in the Coppa Italia with Napoli grabbing important wins against Torino and against Roma, 1-0 Conte style. I guess he will be very happy. And Lazio, Leo, I guess it was about time also that they started to drop points, and they have a very difficult schedule ahead of them. They lost to Parma, as we know. Now, Napoli twice. They have Inter, they have Lecce, okay, but then Atalanta and Roma. So the schedule is very difficult for Lazio.
Yeah, and that's why looking into the near future, it was a shame for them that they lost against Parma because this game with Napoli could have been even more valuable. Again, the use of VAR have massively impacted the game because Nicolo's 𝐬𝐵𝗿𝗀 wonderful goal from outside the box should never have been disallowed because of a foul on the build-up. It should have not been disallowed because that foul was, because Parma recovered the ball after that foul. So it's a very strange situation. Again, the VAR not calling things which are like clear and obvious errors as we thought they are going to be this season in Serie A and everywhere in Europe, but lately in the Serie A, there are a lot of controversy with the use of VAR, and I believe first goal for Lazio should never been disallowed, and then Lazio as well with 𝐬𝐵𝗿𝗀 handed Parma the opening goal in that 3-1 defeat. But to be honest, they done well. They played aggressively. They created chances. Yes, they shot in the foot twice because the second goal as well, they played their part in Parma's goal. And then the third one, they were chasing the 2-2 because Tati Castellanos made it 2-1 with 10 minutes to go. So Lazio was pushing, and then Parma got them at the counter. They ended a run of 5 consecutive wins for Lazio. I believe the match is going to be much closer than what the odds suggest at this moment. It's true that Napoli is the second best home team of the league, and Lazio's record away shows 4 defeats in 7 games. But again, even though they lost with Parma, the performance wasn't bad from them. And for Napoli, another win 2-0, the 4th one in the last 6 matches. Torino could have scored early with Che Adams, but Napoli should have made the victory margin much bigger, 4 or 5 easily, because 𝗵𝗵 could have scored a brace. He has 5 goals in the Serie A, but haven't scored since the 2-0 win against Milan in San Siro at the end of October. And between then and now, 𝗵𝗵 had many chances to score in games. Anyway, I'm not going to be taking any way away from 𝗵𝗵 𝐿𝐵𝗵𝗵, Torino's goalkeeper, because he was outstanding. McTominay scoring his 3rd goal of the season to give that 1-0 win against Torino. Antonio Conte sending few messages to De Laurentiis after the game, saying that he will need reinforcement for next season if they play in Europe, which is good because Conte can see Napoli playing in Europe next season, but he's saying that with this squad, with only 21 outfield players, he won't be able to compete with the 3rd competition. To do it with Serie A and Coppa Italia is just fine, he said, but if they were involved in Europe, they couldn't do it with 21 outfield players only. Great game, this one. I'm not going X1 or X2, Edu. Both seem to score yes, odds of 2.
I can also see Napoli playing Europe next season with these numbers. They are doing great. Not sure if they are going to be able to fight for the Scudetto until the end. But anyway, we are in December and they are topping the table. They are doing a great season. And for Monday, we have Monza Udinese. Monza still penultimate in the standings. As I always say, they are not that bad, but they are desperate for a win. They only drew with Como and Torino recently, winless in the last 6 games, no wins at home. This is the key for them to be in the bottom 3. And Udinese, Leo, they are in bad form. So let's see if Monza are able finally for a win at home.
Yes, because that home win for Monza should have come earlier. They are still with no wins, but against Lazio, or especially against Milan, they deserve it to win, and they ended empty-handed. We spoke of Daniele Maldini last show, and how he was like missing chances lately in games, and especially playing at home. Well, Nesta did not start him against 𝐿𝐴, but he introduced him in the second half, and he made the difference, to be honest, for Monza to keep pushing for a win in the last 15 minutes. Nesta said that Maldini needed a reset, and that is why he benched him. If that reset worked, because he came very lively in the second half, Maldini to score any time against Udinese, odds of 4 for those adventurers. And for Udinese, yes, a tough run so far, 4 defeats in the last 5, and again a game in which they were reduced to 10 men, and again the same players, Sulaiman Touré, the center back, saw a red card against Venezia at the start of the second half when his team was winning 2-1, and they lost that game. And with Genoa on the weekend, the same. He saw a red card after only 2 minutes now. And they saw how Genoa took the 3 points away from home in Udine, but still they're in a comfortable position. Udinese, who was once top of the table this season, they are 9th with 17 points. And with Monza, we said 3 draws and 4 defeats so far at home, no wins for them. My take here, Monza to score in the second half, 1.83.
It's true, they were topping the table once upon a time, but they are falling and falling. Well, this is all for this very exciting season in Serie A. Remember, guys, that you can also post your own tips in Oddspedia and also win some cash thanks to our tipster competitions. And now we have also rivals, so you can create your own tipster competition with your friends and challenge your friends. This is a great new feature that you can find in Oddspedia. Leo, tell me your safe bet.
Atalanta Milan first half goals over 0.5, 1.33. We need 1 goal.
We need only 1 goal, and tell me your ACCA.
Atalanta Milan goals over 2.5, Roma to win, Fiorentina to win, odds of 4 altogether.
Great, Leo. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Bye.
See you next week. Bye-bye.